Hey, I'm CeCe, and I'm here, I'm queer, and I am full of fear. We left off the last time with Chris, an admittedly not super happy ending, but not one that made me want to die on the inside. So I figured it's time to go back to Arya's basement and put ourselves through some shit. Okay, so we were super mean, like always, and it did not end well for us. So we'll do the usual pattern. And we're gonna try to be nice. I mean, there isn't really any nice options, but we'll try to do the nicest of the choices. So what do you want? I just want to talk to my darling sister-in-law. Oh, well. When she spoke the word darling, it was dripping with venom. This conversation is long overdue. You want to talk? I felt sick and dizzy when I tried to sit upright, so I stayed sprawled on the ground. It doesn't seem like it. Oh, but I do want to. She crossed her arms over her chest, speaking down to me like I was too stupid to understand her. It seems to me like you need to learn a few things. How to respect someone, for example. How to treat them with basic human decency. My eyelids felt heavy. I couldn't keep them open. I felt her drag my body across the pavement. She muttered to herself as she walked. But first, I have to teach you how it feels to be treated like shit. You know, I don't know if Arya is the best person to be trying to do lessons in basic human decency. She dumped my body into the trunk of her car, pushing my limbs out of the way so she could close me in. I knew I was going to pass out. Part of me was still reeling from the shock of what had happened, in disbelief, but part of me knew it was real. Arya had always hated me, and I'd always told myself I didn't know why, but in the back of my mind, I thought I knew why. As it all went dark, I thought about Chris and how I felt a little bad. I woke up groggy, groaning as I became aware of pain in my body. I felt awful. All right, back in the basement, my favorite place to be. All right, I think it's about damn time we started taking some fucking accountability for ourselves. Is this about Chris? We all know it's about Chris. We know. You're a dick. We know. That had to be it, didn't it? She was always wedging herself between us when she came over, always belittling me in front of him. She was always touching him, and it made my stomach turn. She didn't look any less angry, but she did nod. Gotta admit, I'm impressed you can even own up to it. She spoke with a harsh, biting tone. Then again, you're probably in denial. You don't think you've done anything wrong, do you? I didn't respond. I knew nothing I said would make her happy, and every answer would be the wrong one. She didn't like my silence either, advancing on me quickly, and I thought she would hit me. But she just stood there with her fists shaking at her sides. Let me enlighten you then. She tells me about all the shit that we did. Okay, so last time we did not stick out our legs, and we got clobbered prematurely, so we're just gonna go ahead and do it. Arya was watching my every move. I didn't want to look afraid in front of her. Also, I've decided on Arya. Just because I like how that sounds better. I hesitated before slowly shifting my body to sit on the hard concrete floor, stretching my legs out in front of me. To my surprise, she looked satisfied. Was it because I'd done what she said? Or was it just because it was me? Because I was at her mercy? It'd be really inconvenient for me if you got loose somehow. So then we get hobbled. So let's go with the I'm sorry option. I know you're upset. I know I've done things I shouldn't have. And I'm sorry for all of that. I swallowed nervously, eyes never straying from the hammer. Is that what she wanted to hear? Oh yes, this whole apology is just super sincere, very sincere. Good job, me. 10 out of 10 effort. Would it even make a difference? I didn't mean to, but I started thinking about Chris. I never had apologized to him, had I? I never thought I had to. I was just trying to get by and hoping he could pull himself together. That's nice. She tilted her head, smiling, lifting up the hammer. Maybe later, I'll actually believe you when you say it. What? I don't know what she's talking about. That apology was incredibly sincere and came from the heart and had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I was being hobbled in a dirty basement. Okay, so pushing this one is not sincere. She's gonna get mad at us, so let's talk about apologizing to Chris instead. She didn't smile, but she looked a little less angry at least. I hope you will. There was a pensive look on her face as she looked down at the hammer. My marriage with Chris had turned into something tense and miserable, but it hadn't always been that way. I never would have married him if I hadn't loved him at some point. Deep down, we still loved each other, didn't we? Isn't that why we both stayed, despite everything? I mean, you stayed because you had somebody that you could be an abusive bitch to. Like, if anything, there had to be a reason why he stayed, because you got everything that you wanted, and he was still, to that day, doting on you, making you breakfast, bringing you flowers, and you were still being a little shitface. I still don't think you're sorry. I don't think I am either. The cold look had returned to her eyes. And even if you were, you're not getting out of this. I want you to feel what you did to him. And continue getting hobbled. All right, let's just go ahead and address the elephant in the room here. You and Chris are really close. Arya ran her hands down her own shirt. I thought about wearing his shirt while I killed you. I gulped, trying to ignore the confirmation of her plan to murder me. Her eyes shifted towards me. Then I realized, I don't want your blood on his clothes. That's for me. I wanted to smell him on his clothes. It was off-putting to hear her talk about her own brother like that. Are they biological siblings? Like, I have a very sinking feeling that they are biological siblings. Because of course they're not going to be stepbrother and stepsister. That is at least a little less icky. Still not super great. Still don't like it. But at least it's not... You know what I've learned with this game? You've always got to go in expecting the worst. Just expecting the worst fucking possible scenario. Just, oh, you're trying to make an assumption about a situation. Think of the worst thing that could happen in that situation, and that's what's going to happen. So they're absolutely brother and sister. And I bet their parents are brother and sister too, just because that's disgusting and weird. She sounded completely serious and nonchalant, like nothing was weird about it. No one has ever treated him right. Not our parents, not his friends growing up. Well, that's not right. Marcus was a good man to him. Like cop Marcus? Like abusive kidnapper Marcus? Murderer Marcus? Is that why she helped that deadbeat abusive cop? How do I know Marcus? Wait, how do I know who Marcus is? Arya turned her attention back to me. But not even you, his wife. Everyone always takes advantage of him. I can prevent that. So I'm trying to get a different ending than we did the first times. But this is how I really feel inside and outside. I can't hide the fact that that's gross, and I think it's gross. I mean, let's just be honest. We used to be happy. Arya shook her head. I don't know that I can believe that. She didn't give me a chance to argue. Well, now that that's out of the way. And now she's gonna do something unspeakable with a hammer. Okay. So, we tried to escape and immediately got pushed down the stairs. So, we're not even gonna bother. We can barely walk, like, I don't think we can walk at all. We have to just crawl, and it's not gonna do anything for us. I pulled weakly at my bindings, just testing. There was barely any give, and it just made pain flare up in my wrists. My feet were swollen, and it hurt to put any pressure on them. I wasn't getting out of here, not like this. Maybe I would think of something tomorrow, if Arya didn't kill me before that. I bit back a frustrated sob and tried to get some sleep. In the morning, I heard strange noises. Clattering, banging, metal scraping against metal. I tried to cover my ears, but didn't get very far with my hands tied. I opened my eyes, and the sight of Arya made it all come flooding back. Any hopes I'd had that it was all just a nightmare were gone. Arya stood over at the little table against the wall. "Oh, good morning, CeCe." "Good morning, Arya." Arya spoke with a gratingly false cheer in her voice. "Sorry if I woke you. I'm just getting some things ready. You might be staying for a little while, after all." I wasn't sure what that was supposed to mean or that I even wanted to ask. There was a bunch of stuff on and around the table. Hardware stuff, hammers, a trowel, a tall bag of plaster repair. What was all of that even for? I've been thinking. I was way too gentle with you yesterday, right? You sure cried a lot, but those could have been crocodile tears. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that at least the first and the last chunks of that experience, real tears, 1000%. I mean, how could you cry for real when you haven't even really started to suffer yet? I opened my mouth to argue, but she talked right over me. Nope, don't want to hear it. You haven't suffered. Not the way you made him suffer. She put a hand on her hip and smiled like we were having a pleasant conversation. But maybe I should ask and see just how honest you are with yourself. What do you think? What do you deserve? I mean, you don't really deserve to go home, but I think that was pretty brutal. So I'm just gonna go with the neutral. I mean, not this. I knew she wouldn't want to hear it, but that's how I felt. Maybe it was only fair I'd gotten a little taste of my own medicine, but the things she had done to me, nobody deserved that. She looked a little mad, but she just shrugged. At least you're honest. The thing is, I don't agree. I think you deserve everything I've done. And more. A whole lot more. She came closer and I realized she was holding something. She had what looked like a flogger clutched tightly in one hand. I was wondering when that was going to show up. Instead of leather, each of its tails was harsh metal spikes. My heart leapt into my throat. I wanted to scream. Just thinking about all those jagged metal spikes digging into my skin was making me sick. Arya was watching my face the whole time. She looked pleased at my reaction. I flinched when she took another step closer and gripped my chin with her free hand. I know I made it sound like your crying is pathetic. And honestly, it is. But I don't want you to hold back. I want to hear you, so scream as much as you want. I'm the only one who's going to hear. Arya kicked me hard in the side and I curled up on the ground, trying to protect myself. She started taking off my clothes, just enough to expose my hips and my chest. When she lifted the flogger over her head, I squeezed my eyes shut, my whole body going rigid. I still wasn't ready for it. The flogger bit into my skin, stinging like a dozen needles. The first hit landed on my stomach and made a loud, ugly sound. Every barb sunk in with a hot, stinging pain, and the blunt wire hit me bruisingly hard. I couldn't keep my voice in if I wanted to. I screamed when Arya pulled it back, wrenching the barbs loose from my stomach and pulling bits of skin with it. What's that? Arya sneered. Not hard enough? You want to bleed? She didn't give me a chance to answer. She grunted with exertion and brought the flogger down even harder. The wire smacked into my chest, metal scraping through my skin. Welts in the shape of the flogger's tails were forming on my skin. It hurt to breathe. I bit down on my lip and rolled onto my side, but it didn't matter. She whipped me again, barbed wire falling across my hip. It felt like she was dragging razor blades over my body. You're fucking worthless. She struck me again and again, talking down to me the whole time. Well, I mean, what is she going to do? Give you a little pep talk? Just like, you're doing great, sweetie. You can achieve anything that you want to achieve. You need to believe in yourself the way I believe in you. All you had to do was be a decent human being. You just had to be kind to him, and you couldn't even do that. I took a ragged breath in between strikes. The stinging had become a terrible burning sensation. The barbed wire ripped into me and blood spattered over Arya's feet. I tensed up in anticipation of another blow that never came. Opening one eye timidly, I looked up. I told you to scream. She wound her arm back and I braced myself. I mean, let's just go ahead and die, right? I wrenched my eyes shut and gritted my teeth, curling up on my stomach. The blow landed hard across my back and shoulders. I felt strips of flesh tearing off of me, but I bit my lip and refused to make a sound. The silence just made her angrier. What did I just fucking say? I didn't care. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of hearing me scream. The flogger carved long, burning lacerations into my body. When she finally stopped, my skin felt like it was on fire. Every inch of me stung and throbbed, and every movement was painful. Arya stomped on me, her heel landing heavily on my back. The sole of her foot rubbed over my stinging cuts, smearing blood across my skin. Her breathing was heavy and shaky in frustration. The pain was too much. I was starting to get lightheaded and dizzy. The basement blurred in and out of focus around me. Hey. I felt Arya's hands shaking me, but I couldn't keep my eyes open. Oh. That's really all you've got, huh? When she released me, I collapsed, too weak to hold myself up. Had the basement been this cold before? At least you won't be a problem anymore. She didn't even stay to watch. Damn, that's fucking cold. She left me all alone, turning the lights off. I was scared. It was so dark, but at least it didn't hurt anymore. Okay, so I want to try being as dickish as possible for the entire way through now. So instead of trying to escape up the stairs, I'm just going to sleep and then continue being a dick and see if that changes anything. Okay, it is the next day. We feel like we deserve to just go home. We didn't do anything wrong. We are perfectly amazing people, and we have hearts of gold, and we're always reaching out and helping, and we have such a kind heart. And honestly, we kind of let people take advantage of us, if I'm going to be honest. Like, that's just how nice we are as people. Really? Arya's tone hardened immediately. You think you deserve to just go home? Just sleep it off and take it easy, huh? Fucking hilarious. She came closer and I realized she was holding something. She had what looked like a flogger. Yeah, so we won't get flogged. Oh, and then I died. Okay. Well, let's try another one. Alright, so I guess let's just tell her that we're gonna call the cops just because we haven't done this option yet. Oh yeah? She knelt down and picked something up that had fallen when she hit me. I saw my cell phone in her hands as she glared at the lock screen. With what? This? She dropped it on the ground near my face and the screen shattered, little shards skittering over the pavement. Then she stomped on it over and over again. She looked at me in the eye while she did it, grinding the heel of her shoe into the mess of broken plastic and metal, like she really wanted to step on my head. No, I don't think you will. I think you and I are going to have a little chat. She crouched down beside me. Just the two of us. She was insane. Just a girls' talk. Just have a little girls' day. I never really liked her, and I knew she didn't like me. But this? I never realized she would do something like this. My eyelids fluttered, and I fought to keep her in my line of sight, but everything was getting fuzzy. Arya stood up straight and looked down at me like I was something disgusting. The hatred on her face haunted me even after my eyes slid shut. So again, let's just continue down the path of we haven't done it yet and see where that gets us. What did I do to you, bitch? Arya looked taken aback, almost surprised, and then she looked angry. Are you fucking kidding me? You can't think of anything you've done? Do you really think I'd go to all this trouble because of some petty bullshit and not something important? Couldn't believe it. She really thought she was justified. You've always been petty. Every time you come over, you get in my face and start an argument. Are you mad because I didn't just stand there and take it? Arya took the last few steps over to me and grasped me by the hair, yanking me upright. She kicked me hard in the stomach, knocking the breath out of my lungs. I heaved and desperately sucked in air. She didn't let me curl up and protect my stomach, still clutching a fistful of my hair. She gave a warning in a low, hate-filled tone. Word of advice. Don't get smart with me. She finally let me go, throwing me to the ground. I fell face first, arms yanked back painfully by the bindings keeping my hands attached to the pipe. I heard Arya step away from me. You know damn well what you did, but I'll lay it out just so we're on the same page. You've been hurting him. Yep. We sure have. We're just gonna alternate. Stop it. I used to admire you. Arya blinked and stared at me blankly, like she hadn't heard me right. I really did. It was true. I had admired her once. Chris had always spoken highly of his genius sister who graduated early and became a lawyer. She was someone he really respected and cared about. But by the time she first visited us in the house, my marriage had already become stressful. Now that I thought about it, Chris must have been calling her or something, telling her how awful I was. She already didn't like me. I'd always chalked it up to him being a pushover who couldn't even stand up for himself, looking to be taken care of by somebody. But was it really that bad? Was I really so unbearable that he felt he had no choice but to ask for help? Yes, bitch, you're a fucking monster. I realized I hadn't said anything for a while, but Arya saw something about my expression that made her hesitate. Is that it? She snapped at me. Well, now that that's out of the way, hobbled. And then go to sleep. Honestly, we deserve more than just this. Oh, really? Arya laughed. Someone's a glutton for punishment. You really aren't learning anything. You think saying what I want to hear will make me go easy on you. I was offended she would just brush me off like that, but I understood. I'd done that to Chris 1,000,000 times. Disregarded a kind word and insisted he was just trying to get out of trouble. I'm not just saying it. I know what I did was wrong. If hurting me will make it right, then hurting you doesn't make it right. She cut me off sharply. Hurting you makes me feel like you're getting what you deserve after all these years. Then I want to get what I deserve. She was shocked to hear it. For a while, she just stared at me. Her gaze softened a little. Maybe I imagined it, but I thought I saw something like respect in her eyes, just briefly. She came closer, and I realized she was holding something. Something awful. Boom! Alright, we gon' yell so that she don't kill us. Arya sent powerful, stinging blows into my chest, tearing off ragged patches of skin. The pain was constant, lingering as a sharp burn in the brief moments between the lashes. I wasn't too proud to scream. My voice echoed off the basement walls, the only sound except for Arya's labored breaths and the noise the barbed wire made when it tore into me. Tears prickled at the corners of my eyes. She was laughing. It was soft and under her breath, so I didn't notice at first. She gave a pleased sigh and whipped the barbs over my flesh again. That's it. That's what I like to hear. Well, we bounced back from a broken heart, at least. I guess even you can be cute sometimes. Such a passive-aggressive statement, too. Like, wow, you're actually kind of cute. Wow, thank you. Thank you so much for realizing that I can be cute sometimes. She wasn't going as fast as before, but she still hit me hard. I had just enough time to suck in a breath between each strike. Enough to tense up and prepare myself for what was coming. It hurt so much. Arya savored every sound she dragged out of me. The pain was starting to make me lightheaded, and I thought I might pass out. Please. It hurt to talk. My voice was hoarse and my throat was stinging. I felt like I was shouting, but I could barely hear my own words. See, this one is where it's gonna turn into the true spirit of this game. So let's just get fucking weird with it. Keep it coming, bitch. I don't know what came over me, but I started to beg. I whimpered pitifully and writhed on the floor. Even though I was in so much pain, I wanted more. I was starting to enjoy it. Arya looked like she hadn't expected that. More? She bit down on her lower lip. Oh, I can give you more. She let the barbed wire rest on my chest and dragged it slowly down my stomach. The barbs raked over my skin and snagged on the wounds she'd already opened. Ugh. Blood soaked the metal and streaked my body. Arya licked her lips. Take a deep breath. I want you loud. I did as she asked, inhaling shakily. Her strikes came slowly, more deliberate, more carefully aimed. She carved jagged lines into my hips and across my stomach. The barbs snagged in my skin and blood spattered on the floor. I screamed for her until I barely had a voice left. I was almost delirious, stuck in a haze of pain and pleasure. The burn was satisfying. The pain left me feeling fulfilled. I didn't know why, but I loved it. It's because you're in this game. That's all. That's the reason why. It's because a qualification of being in this game is you have to take some crazy pills. Like, here's your crazy pills. Welcome to Crazy Town. Just look at the logical, rational choice that anybody would be like, oh my god, this is how I would react in that situation. This is crazy. And then just do the opposite. Do the opposite. And if you take your underpants off, double points for you, because that is perfect for this entire series. And she loved hurting me. Suddenly it stopped. I found myself waiting for the next strike, tense in anticipation, but it never came. Arya stood over me, clutching the flogger with an unreadable expression on her face. That's enough of that. She sounded uneasy. I noticed she was looking at me differently than before. It was like she noticed something new, and she wasn't sure how to feel about it. I came down from my adrenaline rush, confused and nervous. I wasn't sure why she stopped, but I wasn't scared of what was coming next. Arya took a step back from me and forced her lips on mine. Like, that's how quick her mind changes? That's all it took? And then she's like, oh, this is the monster that abused my brother for years and made him feel like shit. And she's obviously in love with her brother. It's disgusting. But then I was just like, you know, maybe this flogging thing ain't so bad. And she's just like, maybe you aren't so bad. I had you all wrong. Now we're gonna date. JK. She's gonna do something horrible and then kill me. Because that's how this works. Her fingers smearing my blood across my chest. Her kiss was rough, but her lip gloss was sweet, like strawberries. I wasn't sure what to expect, but it sure wasn't that. She put her hand behind my head and nibbled on my lower lip, gently pulling at it with her teeth. Maybe I need to use you a bit. I'm riled up. Told you. Okay. I watched her move away from me for a second, her gentle steps moving upstairs. I felt a bit lonely. I looked at her hips and saw a purple device around her waist. Let's have a bit of fun together. She did things. And I'm super into it. I couldn't sleep. I passed out. Knocked out cold. Just fully unconscious. Nothing had happened. I just... blood loss. I couldn't sleep. It wasn't just the lingering pain. I was afraid of what would happen tomorrow. Arya had seemed a little different compared to the day before. Almost like she started to feel a little sorry for me. Just not enough that she wasn't going to hurt me. If anything, she'd been worse than before. It really didn't matter what I did. I was going to die down here. I heard pacing and voices upstairs. Arya made a phone call and put it on speaker so loud I could hear it ringing all the way in the basement. Either she was busy multitasking, or she wanted to make sure I heard. It was still hard to make out the words, but I could tell she called Chris. Have you seen CeCe? Those were the first words out of his mouth. For some reason, it really got to me. I couldn't understand why he was still worried after everything. Everything I had put him through. I'm sorry, Chris, nothing's turned up yet. Marcus is doing all he can looking for her, but I'm sure he is. He's definitely not a little preoccupied right now. It's fine. I don't want you to worry. Just take care of yourself. I had no idea Arya could sound that gentle. It was nothing like when she talked to me. It wasn't even the snide tone she had when she came over and blatantly ignored me. She really cared about him. She really, honestly believed that she was doing the right thing by keeping us apart. How do you get a divorce, Arya? What? How do you get a divorce from someone you can't serve papers to? Are you serious? I swear, I almost tore her head off. I can't be around her anymore. I won't let her turn me into someone I'm not. Okay, I'll help you. Thanks, Ari. Look, and tell Marcus to stop looking. He doesn't need to find someone who doesn't want to be found. Good for him. Good for him. Like, dude's got enough fucking problems with his life and his sister. He really does not need this on top of it. I wish I could go home. I wanted to go home. I wanted this nightmare with Arya to be over. I wanted to talk to Chris. We weren't done. We still had a lot to talk about. I hoped I could make her see that. I hoped she would believe me. In the morning, Arya turned the basement light back on. I was already up and ready for her, leaning up against the wall. She came down the stairs and leaned back against the table. We just stared at each other for a moment. I felt like we both run out of things to say. You heard that, didn't you? Chris doesn't want to see you again. She said this very calmly. If she lost sleep over this whole thing, it didn't show. I have a good reputation and haven't done anything to implicate myself as a suspect. You could go missing forever, and it wouldn't affect me. She shrugged. Chris is already over you. She made a quick stop at the table before walking over to me. She was threading a large sewing needle with a heavy industrial thread. My blood ran cold and I tried to scramble away, but I wasn't fast enough. Don't do this. I was begging, but I didn't care. She was looking at me vacantly, meeting my eyes. Arya, please. She rammed her knee into my stomach. I was still gasping for breath when she clutched my head and slammed it back into the wall. My vision flickered and my head throbbed. I felt blood dripping down the back of my neck. I couldn't keep myself upright and sprawled out on the floor. Arya rolled me onto my back and sat on top of me, her legs keeping me pinned. She cut my chin with one hand. I'm going to forget about you. And so will Chris. You'll be a forgotten little nothing. That's what you deserve. I'll take care of him in your place. He has this smile. You wouldn't know it. I haven't seen it since he married you. But I'm going to bring it back. I wish she meant it in a familial, sisterly kind of way. She absolutely doesn't. She pulled at my lips with her thumb. I felt the needle point press against my face before she shoved it through my skin. It went all the way through my lip and into my mouth, scraping my gums. When I screamed, she cracked my head against the floor. Everything was getting blurry. Hold still. She pried my mouth open and dragged the coarse thread all the way through my lips. She pierced through them again, another puncture wound beside the first, and tugged the needle back through. I saw it come out of me streaked with blood and caked with flesh. I tried to ask her to stop, but it was getting harder to speak. Arya worked as fast as she could, stitching roughly across my lips. I shivered whenever she drove the needle into my face. The raw, scratching burn of the thread dragging through my skin made my stomach turn. After what felt like forever, she snapped the end of the thread off with her teeth and tied a knot. Every sound I made was muffled. My lips were completely stitched shut. Arya paused for just a second to look at me, listening to the desperate noises trapped in my throat. She was smiling when she grasped me by the hair one last time and drove my head down into the floor. The next time I opened my eyes, the air was thick and musty. I squinted into the darkness but couldn't make anything out. I heard Arya somewhere above me. Was I still in the basement? What you need is a vacation. I have a sneaky suspicion we are not in the basement anymore. A couple days relaxing out of town would really do you some good. She was using that sweet, affectionate tone, which could only mean she was talking to. You're probably right. You sound bitter. I wasn't going to. It's because I am bitter. You don't get it, Arya. I could've done some real fucked up shit. Ari. What's wrong, Chris? I really need help. Can you spot me and help me get some, therapy? Of course. Anything you need. Thanks, Ari. I wanted to call out to him, but I couldn't open my mouth. My muffled cries went completely unheard. I tried to move, but I found I barely had space to turn my body. Are you in the trunk? Where are we? Panic filled my mind. Where was I? My hands brushed against something hard. A wall? On both sides of me? Has to be the trunk. I remember some of Arya's last words to me about wanting to just forget about me. My heart stopped. Had she? You know what you should get back into? What's that? Boxing. You used to love it so much. I'd hate to see it go to waste. I heard her say. Yeah, you just want to see me without my shirt on. Oh, that's your sister. No. Chris laughed. He hadn't laughed like that in a long time. I heard his footsteps follow hers. They made dinner, watched TV, and laughed, unaware that I was trying to scream beneath them. I screamed, and I screamed, and I screamed, but it didn't matter. We under the floor? The new wall that Arya had put up in her basement was the only thing that heard me. So I guess it's just like a small little... Alright, kind of like a fucking weird, modern, incestuous cask of Amontillado here. Alright, well, let's round this out with Chris and see if we can have an ending where he gets at least a little bit of happiness by the end of it. Like that last one, he did get happiness, and he didn't have to do any of this fucked up shit, and he had to deal with his sister, but you know, one fucking thing at a time. Alright, I don't know where I want to go with this. So I'm just gonna, I think I'm just gonna do any dialogue choices I hadn't done before and see where it gets us. Okay, so here's the problem with my plan. I've already ran through a lot of this dialogue. So, new strategy. I'm just gonna click random shit and see if I can get an ending, just like I usually do. Alright, I have found some previously unseen dialogue. This was after we were doing weird shit to his fingers. You've never dominated me like this. He looked at me and twirled the keys to my cuffs on his finger. Will you do what I say if I uncuff you? I nodded quickly and panted. I wanted him anyways, so what did it matter? He uncuffed me and I dropped quickly to my knees on the floor. He took a seat on the couch and watched me move around on the ground. I put my hands on his boots and looked at them. He leaned his head to the side and watched me lick his boots slowly. I rubbed my head. Oh no. Why am I licking his boots? Don't leave the house, but you can walk around if you want. Chris put me down on the couch again. Oh, thanks, Chris. I gripped his shirt. Don't leave me yet? He sat down on the couch with me and put his hand on my head. Okay. It was an easy sleep. I looked around. Oh, now he's gone. Shall we get the obvious death out of the way? I feel like that's what we need to do. I got out of my spot and tried to look around. What an asshole. I couldn't believe he thought I would just lay there and take it. I went up to the door and looked at it. It was boarded up. I let out a harsh, frustrated exhale. I wouldn't be getting out this way. Or maybe. I looked at the tools Chris had laid out when he put the boards up. I picked up the hammer and tried to get the nails out of the wood. I was going to get out of here. I pulled down one board and looked around, listening carefully for movement. Nothing. I turned back to the door and tried for the next board. I got halfway through it before I felt something sinking into my skin. A blade. I looked at Chris's arm around me as he dug his knife into my gut, pulling me against him. You want to play me like that? I'm done with you. He growled as he wrenched the knife out, dragging my guts out with it in a pile that splattered wetly onto the floor. I clutched at my stomach weakly, in disbelief. In moments, I could feel myself sinking to the ground. Fuck you. I hit the floor. We got what we expected. I truly did not think it was going to be this long of a journey just for these two, but we still have 2 endings left for Arya and 2 endings left for Chris. So we will work on that next time and then hopefully move on to our final character. So I'll see you then.
I feel your rage across the room. It's been this way for a while. I'll go ahead and I'll assume that you'll force it down with a smile.